Mercy, Lord have mercy. Why niggas hate me? Show me no mercy. Brother forsake me, woman them hurt me. Mercy, mercy, Lord have mercy. Okay, walk like a champion, talk like a champion. You don't hear that send me blow. Put up on your set slow. You don't hear no engine. Put a body on the gun wide. Walk like a champion, talk like a champion. You don't hear that send me blow. Put up on your set slow. You don't hear no engine. Put a body on the gun wide. Mercy, mercy, the wicked have no mercy. So I gotta stay with a blick of niggas be thirsty. Quicker than the flick of a picture, niggas can murk me. Catch you with your dick in these bitches and do you dirty. But I'm God body, I put that shit on the jersey. No weapon formed against me shall hurt me. Go to war on your turf, I put you under the surface. Mac 10s, Mac 11s, call a nigga Bernie. Open up the chest of a nigga, them bitches burning. Living by the scripture that's written in this discernment. I see that window closing, can't be playing in the curtains. I ain't playing like the circus. I'm a man with a purpose. Can't be laying with the serpents. Keep the squares out your circle. You ain't standing on your word. What kind of man are you? X you out, cross you over. I had to shell guide you. Can't stop a nigga drive the beat. They can't guard you. Hell have no fury compared to what God do. I'm a whole gangster, my nigga, not partial. 38 special. This nigga think he's special. I go ahead depart you. I ain't finna argue. Walk like a champion, talk like a champion. You don't hear that send me blow. Pull up on your set slow. You don't hear no engine. Put a body on the gun wide. Walk like a champion, talk like a champion. You don't hear that send me blow. Pull up on your set slow. You don't hear no engine. Put a body on the gun wide. Nigga, all that shit you said ain't felt. I don't take you as serious as you take yourself. Niggas steady playing, better play where it's safe. Never know who I'm locked in with around your way. I don't like no bad energy around my space. The label good green, nigga, what's good, you straight? Niggas talking crazy, that's a big mistake. Yeah, what I say? I told you they ain't got no love for you if they ain't come up with you. What I say? I told you there wasn't no real niggas, now you gotta deal with them. What I say? I told you she ain't got no love for you, she don't really fuck with you. What I say? I told you take care of your fam, stand on your square, be a man. What I say? I told you they ain't got no love for you if they ain't come up with you. What I say? I told you there wasn't no real niggas, now you gotta deal with it. What I say? I told you she ain't got no love for you, she don't really fuck with you. What I say? I told you take care of your fam, stand on your square, be a man. A cold world, I know. Time moves fast when you tryna chase a bag, that's facts. At last, niggas finally see a check. Haters wanna knock you off your apex. They mad, cause your bitch ain't loyal. Broke the code, put a price on her soul. Get a hold of your life. You could blow overnight, or you could fuck it all and lose control. Suicide is a suicide, yeah. It's a big difference between you and I. And I'm super straight. They say you 6 million ways to die. Choose your fate. I ain't gon' lose the case. Prove your worth, nigga. Move your way. Keep your nose clean before you lose your face. What up your face value? We don't know your face. I step up in this bitch like I own the place. I pay close attention till they told their place. Is he really built? Will he fall or break? Life is guns and butter, baby boy, you straight. And I got it in either hand, I mean I hold your fate. Never know, it could be your time to go today. Who knows, a nigga like me might show you the way. Seal his fate with a kiss from a rose on the grave. I stand on anything I say, what I say. What I say? I told you they ain't got no love for you if they ain't come up with you. What I say? I told you there was no real niggas, now you gotta deal with them. What I say, I told you she ain't got no love for you, she don't really fuck with you. What I say, I told you take care of your fam, stand on your square, be a man. What I say, I told you they ain't got no love for you if they ain't come up with you. What I say, I told you there wasn't no real niggas, now you gotta deal with it. What I say, I told you she ain't got no love for you, she don't really fuck with you. What I say, I told you take care of your fam, stand on your square, be a man. My nigga Low just came home from doing 8, fucking with the wrong niggas in the wrong place. The one you call Ace, that be all up in your face. Next minute fuck around, help the law build your case. In this rap run, you gotta be a dog in this race. Loyalty or death, man, that's all that it take. I go all the way, you niggas fall by the waist. I see we was never cool, we was all for the ranks. And furthermore, keys open doors. I can never sit and watch my niggas jump overboard. It's over for you step niggas and I'm the overlord. I know you niggas to the core. Before you hit record, never give a man a sword if he ain't built for war. I see hate galore and I just love it with Lord. It motivates me more, keep a nigga going forward. Life come with bullshit and the nigga is all for it. I ain't out to your hustle, but it's money over horse. I gotta feed fam, you gotta feed yours. On this path less chosen, ain't no room for detours. Just earn your keep and keep yours. Let be and be more, but be sure you ready, cause shit ain't never finna be the same like it was before. You know what they say about when it rains for sure. The game is pure through our veins and pores. What I say.
What can I say?
and therefore they would suffer some collective disaster, collective grief. And when that plane crashed in France with 130 white people on it, no one man should withstand the weight of the world on his shoulders that died when it's. It's not hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here. It's true. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated. It's true. It's not hate to say that the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in this country, came up with a hypocritical desegregation decision 9 years ago, which they haven't enforced yet. That's not hate. That's true. You're quoted as having said when an airliner crashed with a number of white people on board that you were glad it happened. The white race in this country collectively are guilty of these crimes that our people are suffering from collectively. And therefore they would suffer some collective disaster, collective grief. And when that plane crashed in France with 130 white people on it, no one man should withstand the weight of the world on his shoulders that die when it's over. Ain't no global warming, the world getting colder. Ain't nobody doing shit, they taking our culture. Wake up and see y'all, ain't no balance on one side of the seesaw. We at war with Esau, when ain't nobody down with us. My niggas get up, I know what it's like to wake up fucked up. I know what it's like when the pain cut deep. You can't get on your feet and you just wanna stay asleep. When the shit too much, a nigga needs to roll up. And all you got is this money and this still ain't enough. To live is to survive, gotta hustle to stay alive. My girl don't understand, I can see that look in her eyes. So not the trouble of soul, I pacify with lies. I inflict the pain and wipe the tears of her cries. Baby, I know you heard an apologies in advance. I just pray to God that he give me another chance. Trying to make it to heaven, I got a hell of a plan. Dancing with the devil makes me a hell of a man. Yeah, I'm trying to be a better man, but my nigga down south will put me up 200 amps. He told me if I needed to put that shit in my hands, is that a curse? So the blessing or do I see at the end? We learned that 120 of them were from the state of Georgia, the state that my own grandfather was a slave in. Why, to me, it couldn't have been anything but an act of God, a blessing from God, and I frankly and sincerely pray for similar blessings from him. Levels to this, and I said it like I said it, cause I wanted to hit. I give credit where it's relevant, we better than them. It's evident we set the precedence to elevate men, but we never know the evidence killing other black men. And how we supposed to trust the hand we eat off if we hand fed the very poison we feed off? We don't even need all this extra shit they letting us get. It only hold us back from our excellence. Links off, get together, ball, invest in shit. The true value of life. Love my children and wife. Love to all of my niggas who can't be free for the fight. R.I.P. all my niggas who passed on from this life. I love my brothers off the strength, whether he wrong or he right. Let your woman have that glory, baby. I'm wrong, you right. The true glory is through God and how I'm shining my light. Bust down Cartiers to see my sins in the night. Now what I call my darkest hours all depends on the price. I just said it ain't with snakes, I see men become mice. I let my pen speak my mind the only way I think twice. All that I sacrifice, I shall exceed in this life. You don't get freedom. Freedom is never safeguarded. Anyone who is depriving you of freedom isn't deserving of a peaceful approach by the ones who are being deprived of their freedom. And when black people in this country come out from under the mental straitjacket that the Negro clergymen have placed them in, and begin to see that the only way you can get freedom is to get it the same way the white man in this country got it from England. He says he got it from England. He was willing to pay the price for freedom. And when you're willing to pay the price for freedom, then you get it. But the Negro in this country has never been willing to pay the price for his freedom.
What's good? What's good? Shalom, shalom. Salakia for the tardiness. But we back. We in it. Yes, I know y'all see the title, right? So, yeah, we're going to get right into it, right? Of course, giving all praises to the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so in His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, right? So, yeah, we're going to get right into it, right? We're going to get right into it. So 1 second. Yeah, so we're gonna get in, been been following these prophecies and stuff, right? So yeah, we've been following these prophecies and stuff. So getting into it, you know, uh, matching them up with current events and stuff that we see what's going on around the world and so forth, right? So, but yeah, of course, giving all praise, Most High God, Yahweh, do so in His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, and of course, the title says, the Lord is a man of war, and He is known by His judgment, right? And, and we're gonna get into it. All right, let's got this article from a little summary from this article from Euro News. And it's speaking of like the tension and the escalations that's going on over in the Middle East and stuff like that, and how certain countries is starting to get involved with it. Just like how we predicted it and said how it was going to go down, right? So it says, increase arsenal or announce expansion plans ending decade nuclear reduction. So these people like cause they had like under like some type of little nuclear treaty where they can't like these countries that have them, they can't expand their nuclear program. Some countries signed on to that. Countries like North Korea didn't. And others. And so it says nearly all 9 nuclear armed states increase arsenal or announce expansion plans. So now, in a lot of these, NATO, they got some countries that have nukes, but a lot of them come from America. But then you have the BRICS. You have Brazil, Russia, India, China. So India got their own nukes. China got their own stuff. And so they looking like, man, we gotta expand our thing. So it says, quickly available nuclear warheads rose to 9,745 in 2024, with 4,012 deployed on missiles and submarines. Escalating conflict and collapsed arms control treaties including New Start, heightened global nuclear dangers. Because again, none of these countries signed back on to these nuclear treaties because they like, look, it's up. Like we ain't signing that treaty no more. We gonna further our nuclear program like everybody else, right? Then it says 99 countries joined the nuclear weapons ban treaty, but nuclear armed states have but no nuclear armed states have signed on. Experts warn increased deployment risk, rapid escalation, miscalculation, and accidental use of nuclear weapons. And they say like, look, this can spark and make this be bigger than what it be something real big, because it can go down either through because of the escalation and calculations and misunderstandings of people movement, or it could be what it says, an accidental use of the nuclear weapon, right? And which we know some of these countries is not gonna accidentally do it, if you know what I mean. What I mean by some of these countries. So this one is from Reuters, and it says Iran hardliners ramp up calls for nuclear bomb. Sources says. So now, I take that part sources with a grain of salt because I don't know what sources, but okay, right? Because I do know one source been claiming that these people is 24 hours away from having a nuclear bomb. Like they got tracking GPS tracking on their nuclear bomb thingy, and they've been saying that for the last 40-50 years. That they last 30 something years that they on that, right? So I know that source, but who knows? Because they is part of the bricks. They are part of the four carpenters, as the Bible describes, and they are listed amongst the nations that the Bible describes that's going to, take down the beast. Then it says, Iran hardliners increasingly demand nuclear weapons following escalating U.S.-Israeli attacks and leadership change. Revolutionary Guards now dominant after Supreme Leader Kalamali death on February 28th. And that's the thing too. And I was just cause it didn't dawn on me. I was just looking at something last night, and I'm like, okay, they did that operation. Was it last Monday or something like that, or something? I don't know. Last weekend, a couple weekends ago, I don't know. So they did that, right? And what should about I don't know what was it, a month ago? Shit, man, I don't know. Yeah. So they did that to the man, right? And the guy is just a religious leader, right? He's not don't really have no bearings on the government like that. So all you really did was just kind of piss the Iranians off. You didn't do anything that's gonna, stop them. You killed their religious leader. You didn't. But I'm looking, I'm wondering, I didn't put two and two together when I'm looking at the TV. They're like, yeah, Iranian prime minister said blah blah blah. And the prime minister of Iran said this. I'm thinking prime minister. But like I said, I didn't put it together. I'm like, dude, you killed the wrong man. You did all that, how they say, you did all that police work for the wrong guy. And it ain't stopped nothing. But this made things way worse. Right? So it says, police calls grow to withdraw. Hold on, read it right. It says public cause grow to withdraw from nuclear proliferation treaty and pursue nuclear weapons. So they're saying that the people is like, man, forget all that nuclear treaty stuff and don't get any, no, we need to pursue, us a weapon ourselves. So it says public cause grow to withdraw from nuclear I don't know why I can't say that word now. Proliferation treaty and pursue nuclear weapons. Iran previously denied seeking nuclear weapons, citing Kalamali religious ban and NPT membership. Nuclear if demand represent actual policy shift or negotiating tactic amid ongoing conflict. So so they thinking maybe the blood from trying to get a weapon could be a negotiation tactic they trying to use or whatever, right? So this one says, Trump delayed Iran power plant strike threat until April 6th, citing diplomatic progress despite Iran publicly denying negotiations. So you get on TV talking about everything's fine. We're talking it out. We're talking it out, folks. We're talking it out. We're straightening it out. Like that song says, let's straighten it out. Right? So, but it says, despite Iran publicly denying negotiations, stock market dropped sharply Thursday. S&P 500 fell 1.7%, influencing Trump's third delay since the initial Saturday threat. Iran effectively closed Strait of Hormuz, choking 20% of global oil supply and rising U.S. gas prices. Trump previously backed off threats when market react negatively, including delaying April tariffs after sell-offs. Pentagon deploying 6,000 additional troops to the Middle East, despite administration claims of diplomatic breakthrough. We're making a breakthrough, folks. We're talking it out. Everything's gonna be all right. You know, but they're sending 6,000 more troops over there. So it ain't like how they said it, right? Let's get this real quick, right? Let's start with Exodus. Let's go straight to the Bible on this one. Let's see what the Most High God got to say about it, right? Because the Pentagon deploying 6,000 additional troops to the Middle East, despite the administration claims diplomatic breakthrough, right? So, you know, the man is lying. We already know that the man is the false prophet, right? You know, that speaks lies, that Revelation is talking about. Exodus 15:3. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. So, the Lord is a man of war. Yahweh is his name, right? And that's what we got to understand. The Lord is a man of war. And that's how he's judging this place, right? And he's using this coming battle, this coming war, this current war that we're in to judge, right? Because it tells us right here that the Lord is a man of war. Yahweh is his name, right? And that's how the Most High God get down, right? A lot of people don't get that, don't get that fact, right? And it tells us right here, this is the book of Psalms 9:16. And it says, the Lord is known by his judgment. And that's how the Lord is figured out, right? The Lord is known by his judgment, right? When he judged this world, when you see calamity and disasters and stuff happen on this world, that's the Most High God passing his judgment, right? And it says, the Lord is known by his judgment, which he executeth. The wicked is snared in the work of his hands. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. And that's what's going on. So, because the Most High God judges, right? And he executes his judgment. And then, of course, he judges the wicked. And it tells us that the wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. Because as you're doing these wicked deeds, these people are doing these wicked deeds, they get, you know, to the point where they believe that they're untouchable. Nothing can stop them. You know, they just going to continue to do this forever, right? But like I said, the wicked is snared, meaning they're trapped, right? They're just, you know, leading themselves into their own destruction. The wicked is snared in the works of his own hands. Haggai Shalah, right? So, let's go to Jeremiah real quick. Jeremiah 51. Jeremiah 50:22. And it tells us, a sound of battle is in the land, and of great destruction. So that's what's going on. A sound of battle is in the land. The Most High God to put these spirits on these nations to go to war for this final battle for the earth, for earth supremacy, right? And that's what we're witnessing. We're witnessing these nations fight for earth supremacy. You got the West versus the East, right? The West being NATO and the EU, and in the East being the BRICS, right? Brazil, Russia, India, China, and everybody that fall underneath them, right? And that's what we're seeing. So it says a sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction, right? And that's what's going on, right? And that's why we, see the things that taking place the way they are taking place, because the Most High God is a man of war, and Yahweh is his name. That's how he judge, right? Hold on 1 second. Where that? Where that? Hold on, hold on, hold on. One second. Oh, here we go. Psalms 47 and 2, right here. So it says, For the Lord Most High is terrible. He is great, King over all earth. And that's what he is. He is terrible. And it tells us that he is terrible in his ways and how he, and is terrible in his doings. Let's see, hold up. So this is Psalm 66 and 5. And it says, Come and see the works of God. Come and see the works of Yahweh. He is terrible in his doings towards the children of man. Right? And because, again, the Most High God is a man of war. Right? I know the Christian church done told everybody God is all love. Not God. God loves everybody. God loves everybody. Right? That's what people say. Right? But we just read about 3 scriptures that illustrate that God is a man of war. And this one says, Come and see the works of God. He is terrible in his doing towards the children of man. Right? So, and that's what's going on. We got to understand how the Most High God works. Right? Because a sound of battle is in the land and great destruction. Right? And that's what's going on. Right? Let's get this over here and go to second address real quick. Right? Let's get there. Let's start at where we want to start at. Let's start. Let's start about second address in 14, and you'll start at verse 10. Right? So it says, for the world has lost its youth, and the time and times began to wax old. Right? So what is this saying? It's saying that the earth, is getting old. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same young earth as it was in its youthful years and stuff. With the, it don't have the same green grass and the same fresh water and, the same type of animals running around like it used to, right? It's getting old, right? And so it says, for the For the world has lost its youth, and the times began to wax old. So, and again, people say like, things don't last how it used to. Things ain't the same how it used to be back then, or how times change, and it was better back then, right? People say these things, and the Bible backs it up because it tells us as this earth age, it says the times began to wax old, for the world is divided into 12 parts. So now, if you've been following along and watching, long enough, you may hear me say this phrase: we are in a 2-minute warning. We are in the final fourth quarter 2-minute warning, right? 2 minutes on the clock, right? And the reason why we say that is because this verse right here, and it says, "For the world is divided into 12 parts." And when our dear brother Ezra wrote this, I think he lived, about 2,500 years ago, to say, about 2,500 years ago, give or take. So it says it says the world is divided into 12 parts, and 10 parts of it are gone already, right? So God divided up this world, this earth, right? How the life cycles and from the beginning to the end, he divided up into 12 sections, right? Then it says the 12 parts. Then it says and then it says and 10 parts of it already gone and a half. So 10 and a half parts already gone. So out of this whole 12, so now think about this as a clock. If the alarm goes off at midnight, then it's about 10:30, right? And then it says, "And there remaineth which is after the half of a 10th part, and now thereof set thy house in order." And that's the thing, because we are living in the last days, and it says, "And there remaineth which is after half of the 10th part," right? So again, so when Ezra wrote this, this was like about like I said, about 2,500 years ago, give or take, right? Because he came before Jesus, right? So, and if that's the last days, then how much further are we in? How, if that was like the start of, what I mean. So how much are we in it, right? So hold on, let me get this real quick. And it says, hold up, where that? Hold on 1 second. Trying to find this one verse. Alright, well, sure, we'll come back to it, but but long story short, we're in the last days, right? And so we gotta understand, how to, maneuver through this thing, and understand what the Most High God require of us. Let me get this though real quick. So I'm gonna read this one more time though. It says, "For the world is divided into 12 parts, and 10 parts of it is gone already, and half of a 10th part. And there remaineth that which after a half of a 10th part." So again, we at the end of this thing, right? So, and we got to understand, and the Bible tell us, different ways how to tell how we're at the end, right? Because over here is Second Esdras 6:9 says, "For Esau is the end of the world," and we know prophetically, historically, you know, and through archaeology, that Esau is the so-called Caucasian, right? And it says, "For Esau is the end of the world." So when the end comes, Esau and his people, the Edomites, they will be ruling everything. And it says, "And Jacob is the beginning of it that followed." And so that's how we know we at the end. So because Jacob is the Israelite. So at the end, the final kingdom is the kingdom of the Edomites. Then after that, Christ come and set his kingdom up on earth. That's why it says, "And Jacob is the beginning of it that follows," right? So back over here, let's get First John real quick. So First John 2:18 says, "Little children, it is at the last time that, and as ye have heard that the Antichrist should come, even now are there many Antichrists." So, matter of fact, I think this is probably the verse I was looking for. So it says, "Little children, it is the last time." And so this is, Apostle John writing this. So when the Apostle John was writing this, it was the last time in his day. And it says, "And little children, it is the last time, and ye heard that the Antichrist shall come, and even are many Antichrists." And that's the thing, is there's many Antichrists, because a lot of people will get caught up on the Antichrist because they, look at it as a, singular. But no, it just told us that it is Antichrist many, right? So it's not one single person that's just gonna come and he's gonna just, you know, trick the whole world. Even though I'm doing a great job at it, folks. I'm doing a great job. Look at me. He's fitting the bill quite nice, Donald Trump. But Antichrist is anybody that is anti-Christ, anti-gospel, just a Christ denier, right? And a gospel denier, right? And don't follow the truth, right? They will be antichrist, right? A lot of these false religions, sponsor and produce antichrists all the time. So you ain't gotta be the president, right? You can still be the antichrist, right? So it says, "And the little children," "Little children, it is time, it is the last time, and as ye have heard that the Antichrist shall come, even now are many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time." And we see, too, there's a lot of different false ideologies and different religions and all this stuff popping up out of nowhere, and different, other philosophies that everybody is gravitating to stuff, right? And so again, it's not this one dominant world leader that's just going to trick everybody and take over. It's the people, right? The in the society, and that is the Antichrist. Because it tells us over here, it says, as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, and now, and even now are there many." So John was telling us the Antichrist shall come, and even now there are many, whereby we know that it is the last time, right? So again, so you gotta understand that the time frame of this, where we at, right? And we are indeed living in the last days, whether you like it, believe it, understand it, right? Let's get this real quick. let's get Hebrews 1:1. So Hebrews 1:1 says, God who sundry times and in diverse manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets. So again, and God always spoke to his prophets and told the people what was going on, right? Just like how the author of Hebrews is telling us, God who at sundry times and diverse manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets, right? And so God always showed signs and dealt with the people and showed them what was going on before he passed judgment, right? And that's what he's doing now. He's sending his people out to before he passed judgment, right? And because we got to understand this, it says it's Amos 3:6. It says, "Shall a trumpet be blown in a city, and the people not be afraid?" And of course, when the alarm go off, especially if you over there in the Middle East, you hear them sirens going off, people are running, trying to duck for cover, right? People are gonna be afraid because they don't know where them things is gonna land at, right? So you're gonna be afraid, even if you know, over here and stuff, you get an alert on your phone or whatever, right? Be afraid. And it says, should the people not be afraid? Should there be evil in the city and the Lord have not done it? And because that's the thing, we got to understand. The Lord is a man of war. Yahweh is his name, right? And it says, should there be evil in the city and the Lord have not done it? Meaning God is in control of everything, right? And there's no such thing as this, you know, stuff that's, willy-nilly and is out of his control. It's like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Everything is going crazy, right? No, he's in control. Everything is all part of his great plan that he got going on, right? And it says, but should there be evil in the city and the Lord have not done it? Surely the Lord will do nothing but reveal his secrets unto his servants and prophets. That's what he do. Before he passed judgment on the area, on a nation, he will bring it to the prophets. Say, look, tell the people this was going on. Tell them they need to get this straight. Tell them they need to get up out of here. Whatever the message may be, right? He's going to bring it to the prophets first. And it says, surely the Lord will do nothing but reveal his secrets unto the servants and prophets. And that's what he does. And that's what he's doing in these last days. Revealing his secrets to his servants and prophets. And for them to warn the people that this whole place is going up. There's nothing you can say or do about it. So back over here, it says, now before, it says, 2 Ezra 14 and 13. Now therefore set thy house in order. So that's the thing you gotta. Now that we understand, or getting the understanding that we are at the end. Things are prophetically lining up, to the Bible, and it's looking like this is, Christ is on his way back, and to tell us. Now therefore set thy house in order, and restore thy people. Comfort such. Comfort such of them as be in trouble, and now renounce corruption. And that's what we got to do. We got to set our house in order, right? Understand that the Most High God is coming back. He's sending his son, right? So we have to keep the commandments, keep the faith, right? Go back to the law, statutes, and commandments of what God asks us to do. Because like it tells us, it converts the soul. How this says, put away corruption. Put away all those negative, ways that you may have, that you're struggling with, and stop being so weak about it, And I say that with love because everybody got everything that that they're going through, but to not fight it is weak. So that's why I tell us right here what it say. It says, now therefore set thy house in order and reprove thy people, and correct your people. You see your people going on doing something, counterproductive, let them know, hey, yo, it's a better way, right? It says, reprove thy people, comfort such of them as be in trouble, and renounce corruption, right? And so stop all that trying to finesse each other, trying to get over on each other, trying to rob, steal, kill each other, right? Cut all that stuff out because it's getting too late. Again, we already know it's fourth quarter, 2-minute warning. So all that other stuff, you gotta let that go, right? And try to work on your spirit, right? Because it ain't it ain't time for that. Now it ain't the time. If this was like 30 years ago, I'll probably be like, hey, hey, whatever, right? But now it ain't the time. It ain't the time to be trying to mess around and find out, right? And it says, let go from the mortal thoughts, cast away the burden of men, put off now the weak nature. Like I just said, put off now the weak nature, and that's what we have to do. We have to put off those emotions that cause us to fall into our lust and cause us to go into sin, right? So we have to put off that weak nature, right? Build up your spiritual man, right? And like it says, let go from mortal thoughts. And because again, a lot of problems in our lives and stuff that goes on, it can weigh us down, and it can cause us to be depressed, and then in that depression, in that sadness, you lose yourself spiritually, right? So that's why it's important to put away that weak nature, right? Because that weak nature is a demon, right? That is on you, that is causing you to be lackluster, to stay in that same slumber that you was in, instead of shaking the dust off and rising back up again. Because you got to understand, certain spirits that be on people, they on you because they, number one, they want to destroy you. Number two, they like being there, right? And they don't want to go nowhere. And you have to make them go, right? And you make them go by putting off the weak nature. Like it just told us. It says, let go from the mortal thoughts, cast away the burdens of man. So don't allow the stress of this world and all that stuff to beat you down to the point where you lose yourself spiritually. And now you're not, walking in this walk, right? And it says, let go from the mortal thoughts, cast away burdens of men, put off the weak nature. And that's what we have to do. We have to put off the weak nature, right? And cast away the burdens, right? And don't get caught up in, this or that. And understand that Christ is coming back. So that's what you need to be understanding. Because, like, what did Christ say? Christ said, what you bind on earth will be, what you bind in heaven will be loose on earth. And what you bind on earth will be, loose in heaven, right? So you have to bind all that stuff up, right? Let's get this real quick. 2 Peter. So yeah, you gotta bind all that stuff up. And certain things you might like doing, right? But then you might have to cut it out just to walk, right? Just to walk that righteous walk, right? So you bind that thing on earth so it can be loose in heaven, right? Meaning whatever you lose for the sake of the Lord, you're gonna get it back, right? In righteousness, right? So that's what you gotta understand. Because a lot of times we think about things and we think about the loss, we think about the L, but we don't understand that whatever you lose through Christ and righteousness, you get it back, right? Just like that woman with the 7 sons during our Greek captivity that these people conveniently took out the Bible. The woman with her 7 sons, and they end up getting executed, and she had to watch all 7 of her sons get murdered, and but she said, I'm cool with that because I know I'll get them back in the resurrection, right? Because she know how this works, right? 2 Peter 3:10. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night. And that's what we got to understand. The day of the Lord is going to come as a thief in the night. Although we see these things happening and it look like, they can push the button any minute. But again, they can calm down and get cool again. Then ramp back up again. But one thing we got to know, that it says, the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise. That's talking about them nuclear bombs, right? When they go off, right? Them ICBMs, right? And it says, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. And of course, that is the power of a sun. The atomic energy releases the energy of the sun, right? And we know how hot the sun is. You know what I'm saying? You can't even look at the sun without it hurting your eyes and start seeing blue and purple and green and different colors, right? So then imagine on a hot day, right? And unbearable heat. We all been outside in those days where it's just unbearable, the super hot, clothes sticking to you, this hot, right? That's hot. That's just like 100 something degrees, maybe 90, give or take, whatever, right? The sun burns at 1,000,000 something degrees, all right? So when they release these atomic energy, this bomb, you better understand that it is 1,000,000 degrees being released in a millisecond, right? That's just like when you have your oven on for a long time, and you pop the oven open, then all that heat comes out the oven, just like that. But imagine that heat being 1,000,000 degrees, right? That's what's going on. So it says, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the earth also, and the works therein will be burnt up. So meaning everything's gonna be destroyed, because again, like we read earlier, Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning that follows. So, and it's going to be a new society, new way of everything once Christ's government is set up, on this planet, right? But it's going to have to come to a violent end, right? And it says, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the earth also, and the works thereof shall be burnt up with fire, or shall be burnt up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of person ought ye be? Right? And that's the thing. So understand it, because I know this is scary. We're talking about doom and end of the world and everything blowing up and melting and disintegrating. This is messed up. I get it. But that's why Peter get it too. That's why Peter is saying, seeing then that all these things should be dissolved, what manner of person ought ye be? And that's what you have to ask yourself. What type of spirit should I be in these days, right? What type of spirit should I be in, right? What manner of person ought ye be in all holy conversation and in God and in godliness, right? So you want to be on your swear. You want to stay on your swear, like Christ said. Don't if a strong man knew that somebody was coming to rob his house, he would prepare, right? Because he coming like a thief in the night. So you have to always be on the watch. You cannot, get caught slipping, right? Because you never know when that day come. And when that day come and you ain't ready, I mean, hey, it's gonna be your fault, not his. I mean, because he coming. You just gotta be ready. Back over here. It says, and set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto thee. And that's what you have to do. You have to set aside the thoughts that's most heavy unto us, because oftentimes we get into a point where we try to control everything, and we have to understand that we can't control things that we can't control. Certain things it's just certain things that you just can't control, right? That's just what it is. You can't always, make everything do what you want it to do. Certain things you just have to be patient and let it play out. But through our anxiety and our stress, and we trying to figure how it out, we're trying to map it out in our head how we would like it to play out. Then if it don't fit the scenario that we ran in our head, then we go into panic mode, right? But it's telling us, and set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto thee. So don't be stressing out over stuff that that ain't gonna change. No matter how much you complain about it, unless an outside force do something, right? So stop stressing out over stuff that you can't control. Instead, focus on the stuff that you can immediately make change to, right? That's where you start at. Start with the stuff that you can immediately make change to. Because oftentimes we get into situations where, again, we try to, manipulate and try to orchestrate instead of just being patient. So it says, and it says, boom, boom, boom. It says, set aside the thoughts of the most heavy unto thee, and hasten thee to flee from these times. For yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done here and after. Right? So that's why we have to stay prayed up and stay in the faith, because greater evils is coming, that we, haven't seen before. Stuff that you've seen in your life that you say, okay, that's jacked up. But there's going to be some stuff that's coming if you live long enough that's going to be way worse. And that's why our dear brother Ezra is telling us, don't get tripped up on these, other things, because we have to stay strong, because way worse stuff is going to happen. And you ain't going to make it if you over here getting all jammed up over the other stuff. Right? Let's get address 2 and 13. And it say, go and ye and receive, pray for a few days, that ye may be shortened. Let me read it again. It says, go and ye shall receive, and pray a few days, until you that they may be shortened. Right? And that's the thing, like, so much hell that's going to come on this earth. We should pray that the time be shortened, that it hurry up and happen, that Christ hurry up and come back, establish rulership, because like it tells us elsewhere, unless the days be shortened, no flesh shall be saved. Right? So the angel is telling Ezra this. It says, go and ye shall receive. Pray for a few days, until you that it may be shortened. The kingdom is already prepared for you. Watch. Right? So the kingdom is already prepared. Because what did Christ say? I go to prepare a place, right? So the kingdom is already prepared. We just have to be patient and keep the faith and endure to the end, like Christ said, right? And hope that you know, it's like we, with all the hell that's going on, we just get a short experience of it. You know, that it doesn't take us to the breaking point to destroy us, right? Um, and let's go back over here. And it says, let's get 16 real quick. Let's go to second Ezra 16, 62 and 62. That's it. So yeah, right here it says, yeah, and the spirit of the Almighty Yahweh might make all things and search out all hidden things in the secret of the earth. Surely he know your inventions and what ye think in your heart, even them that sin and would hide their sin. Right? So the Most High God sees everything, and he's judging, and he's coming back to judge and to rectify the situation and to redeem his people. You know, and we gotta understand that. And so now let's get let's get let's get let's go to 14, 13. So let's go to 2nd Ezra 13 real quick. So it says, behold, the day come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that are upon the earth. Right? So, like I said, so God is, is coming to deliver his people that are upon the earth, right? And it says, and he should come to astonishment of them that dwell on the earth, and one shall overtake and fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another. So this talking about civil war, regional war, world war, global war, all that type of war, right? Race war. And it says, and one people should overtake and fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. And the time shall come when these things shall come to pass, and a sign shall happen, which I showed thee before. Then, before and then my son should be declared, whom thou sawest as a man ascended. Right. So as this stuff is wrapping up, World War III is breaking out, civil unrest, hell on earth, right? Christ is going to make his return in that time, in the middle of World War III, and that's going to splinter off into what we know as Armageddon, right? 1 second. So yeah, that's going to splinter off into Armageddon, right? So then let's get let's go back to 15. Or let's go to Ezra 15. Matter of fact, we can go to 15 first. And boom, boom, boom. Let's start at 3. 2nd Ezra 15 and 3. All right, let's start there. And it says, "Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee." Right? So, and that's the thing, we, shouldn't let these times trouble us and stuff like that, because we understand that as Israelites, this is the Most High God fighting for his people and eventually coming to redeem his people as he continued to judge this place, right? Then it says, for the unfaithful should die in their unfaithfulness. And that's what's happening. So God is gonna, you know, handle those people, the unfaithful, the sinners, the people, the unjust, right? And because they got a judgment to pay, and it's not like they can just go through the earth and just do what they do and don't pay nothing. That's crazy to think about. Revelation 18:2 says this, and he cried with a mighty and strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is fallen, and become the habitation of devils, and behold, of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For the nation have drunk the wine of her wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have waxed rich through her abundance of her delicacies. So, again, so this place is destined to fall because it is pronounced in the Bible. And we can see how it's going down. We can look at the news. We can see the stock market, and everything, and the panic that, these officials are in, right? Where was that? Boom, boom, boom. All right, boom. So it says, for all the unfaithful should die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, said the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. And that's what's coming, because just then, right, they talking about the bubonic plague is making a return, all these different, diseases, is coming back, right? And God said, I will hit this place with the plagues of Egypt, and even plagues that's not even written in this book, right? It's some stuff that, that he got coming down, coming down the pipeline, right? And it's crazy, because it says, behold, said Yahweh, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famines, death, and destruction. And we see that, right? We see different diseases popping up. We see death, war, destruction, natural disasters and everything that's going crazy. It says, for the wicked have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. So, Most High God is getting ready to judge this place, because they have, what else can they do? What more can they do? That's why we should have known, that God was getting ready to send his people back. When these people started talking about colonizing space, going to Mars and trying to go to different planets to live, because they don't mess this place up so bad. So now they trying to find something else. So then that's when God was like, all right, okay, that's enough. Now we gotta, you know what? All right, we gotta go down there now. These Negroes is tripping, right? They trying to go to a whole nother galaxy. So we should have knew that God should be on it. If there was a God in heaven, we should have known when they started talking about going to a whole nother planet, because they done obviously destroyed this one, and they want to terraform Mars and stuff like that. We should have knew that God wasn't gonna be cool with that. Like, y'all didn't even take care of this one. Now y'all want to go to a whole nother planet? Nah. You know what? We gotta stop this right now, right? We should have knew that. We can put the Bible away and just go off of that. That just don't make sense. What did it say? Then it says, boom, boom, boom. It says, for the wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Therefore the Lord, therefore said the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness. So God says, I'm no longer going to just, just sit back and watch. Now I'm coming to judge, right? I'm about to, because past judgment. That's why that's why people think that, nothing's going to happen. They just going to do this thing forever. But you got to understand how God passed judgment. He'll sit and watch and let this person continue to make that mistake. And then he can only, watch so long. And I use this example too, like the FBI. They don't arrest you the first time you commit a crime. They'll wait. Right? And, let's get this first. My phone. Let's get Wisdom of Solomon real quick. And it says, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, and verse 1 says, for the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not all right. But our life is short and tedious. Right? And that's what these people do. These people, they live, because they're godless. I don't care what anybody say. I will argue and fight anybody on this. They are godless. I don't care what church, what cathedral, what pope, whatever, godless. Okay? Understand, for them, religion, I'll be fair. It's probably like a very small few percentage that actually believe that crap. But majority of them are godless. And to them, it's just a means of networking and further pushing in their agendas. Just a club, And you're like, oh, okay, you're a Protestant? Oh, I'm a Protestant too. Okay, cool. Let's work together. Right? It's just a means of connecting. It's almost like what was that stuff? Remember back in the day they had the Boost walkie-talkie, and you can only talk to another person if they had the same walkie-talkie, the same Boost phone. So just like that's how it is, look at it like that. It's not that deep with them. Now, of course, us poor folks, we love religion. We go to church because we want to change, right? But no, that's not with them, right? It says the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not all right. Our life is short and tedious, and that's why they live the way they live. They live with no fear, like, man, I'm gonna die anyway, And we look at them how they would go chase after a loud noise in the dark. Oh, what was that sound? Right? Skydive, all that crazy stuff, right? Because to them, it says, our life is short and tedious. And in death, a man, there is no remedy. Neither was there a man known to return from the grave. So they think, like, well, shoot, because a lot of them. That's why a lot of them atheists too. They think, once you die, that's it. We're just germs. We just germified on this earth here, and we just grew into some people in society. But we die and that's it. There's nothing after that. So a lot of them have that thought process, so they live it out. That's why a lot of them are homicidal, sociopathic maniacs, because they don't. They think, hey, well, it's assimilation. Hey, we're not, So that's why they act the way they act, because they act how they feel. And how they feel is exactly what we're reading. It says, for the ungodly said. That's what they are, ungodly. So, back over here. It says, therefore said the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profane commit, neither will I suffer them those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and the righteous blood cry unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. So God's like, look, all the innocent people you guys had unalived throughout the decades and centuries, all these souls cry out to me for justice to get with y'all. And I'm going to pay y'all back because I am a just God. And I will not let all these bodies that y'all done put in the ground ever since y'all done crawled out of the cracks and holes of the mountain, right? I got to do something about that. I can't let you people just go and just unalive everything, right? Yeah, that's what they would do. If you leave them to themselves, I mean, I'm trying to think, if you leave them to themselves, what would be here? I don't know if any living thing will actually survive if we leave them to themselves. I try to seriously, maybe y'all can help me out. Help me try to think of any living thing, an organism, a germ, anything. I don't know if any of that stuff will survive if we just leave them. If we all leave the planet and let them stay here, and we go for about 100 or so years, we will come back to probably nothing. I can't even imagine. Dang, that's messed up. But that's what we got, right? So, it says over here, therefore said the Lord, I will surely avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. So God said, I'm going to revenge all the evil that these people have done to the innocent. It says, behold, my people is led as a flock unto the slaughter. I will not suffer them to dwell in the land of Egypt, right? So, and we know prophetically and spiritually, America is Egypt, pursuant to Revelation 11. So, God said, look, I'm no longer going to let y'all continue to rule over and dominate and subjugate and, unalive my people, right? Unjustly, and it says, behold, my people are led as a flock to the slaughter, and I will not suffer them to dwell in the land of Egypt. Because that's what happened, because we are subjugated to these people. We are so easily manipulated and follow their ways, and their ways are destructive to our lifestyle, to our way of being, to how God programmed us to live, right? And so, and it says, behold, my people are led as a flock into the slaughter. I will not suffer them to dwell in the land of Egypt, right? And so he's going to protect his people and redeem his people from this land of our captivity, right? Because here, like I said, our people are so easily manipulated and brainwashed into stuff. That's why it tells us too that there are ways that seem righteous unto a man, but those ways lead into destruction, right? And that's what propagated to our people on a day-to-day basis. Things that seem right on the cover, but they lead to our destruction as a people. Then it says, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and stretched out arm and smite the Egyptian with plagues. So the same way how he took us out of Egypt the last time and destroyed that land with 10 plagues, he's going to destroy this place with 7 plagues, right? And the same way he used his mighty hand to take us out of Egypt with what we would call the miracles and his servant Moses, right? Same way, right? But just a little more grander. Because it tells us too in Jeremiah that we would no longer talk about, how God spread the Red Sea and took his people out of Egypt. We're going to be talking about how God took his people out of America, right? That's what it says, right? And Because it's going to be miraculous how he does it, right? We touched on it before, right? And how it happened, right? So it's going to be great. And it says, says as before, and I will destroy. It says, I will destroy the land thereof. So, and if you're familiar with the story, the Israelites never went into Egypt again. You know, and Egypt is a metaphor for slavery or bondage. It's a Greek word meaning a rock in a hard place or between two straits, and it just means bondage. Because the original name of that land was called Mizraim, but the Greeks came there and saw that, you know, when Alexander and them got down there, it was like, damn, this place is magnificent, and it was built off of slave labor. So they named it Egypt, right? So, anyway, then it says, Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and the punishment that God shall bring upon it, that they till the ground, they that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fall, shall fell through the blasting of hell, and with fearful constellations. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. So, you know, like I said, so as these plagues is happening, famine and stuff, right, it's going to break out amongst the land. Because if the farmers can't farm because the weather is bad, you know, that messes up the food, right? That make their prices go up in the groceries, in the grocery store, right? And it says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draw nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another. And that's what's going on. You know, one people will stand up and fight against another. You know, civil war, right? And we see America is on threat for that too. You know, civil war. One people should stand up. What it says, boom, 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 says one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hand. And there shall be the sedition among men, invading one another. And that's what's going on. Sedition among men, invading one another. We're going to Venezuela. Cuba looking nice. Right? And then you have, you know, the nations over there in the Middle East going at it. China want to go to Taiwan. Russia, Ukraine. You know, then Israel, you know, talking real presumptuously, like they're just gonna just finish mollywop in Iran, and they talking about moving on to Turkey. And again, Turkey is a EU nation, although they're joining the BRICS, you know, but they're EU, and so that goes back to the whole Daniel 2:41 about the you know, the final kingdom being split, right? Because they over there about to go to war with, like, Turkey it's not a NATO country, but it's an EU country. The same thing though, almost. Crazy. But that's what's going down. And it says, there should be sedition among men, and invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes. So they're not going to regard their government officials, their mayors, their governors, their police officers, their presidents or prime ministers or whoever get on TV and say, hey, settle down, everybody, go back to the house, you know, everybody relax, you know. They're not going to do that. It says, they should not regard their kings nor princes, and in their course of their, it says, in the course of their actions shall stand in their power, meaning they're going to do whatever they want in that day, and nobody going to stop them, right? You can try to call 911, and it's going to be a waste of time. You know, you can probably spend that time dialing 911, you know, a little more useful because 911 is going to be busy, right? What I mean by busy, I mean a dial tone, right? And it says, and man should desire to go to a city and not be able to because it's going to be martial law. They're going to be having, stuff sectioned off like, okay, what you doing over here? What's your business over here? You got ID, right? You got, you might need a worker's permit to go to certain cities. If you, say like you work in one city, but you live in another. So, but then, but you have to get paperwork to say that you can travel to that city to go to work, right? It's going to be crazy. So it says, a man should desire to go into a city and should not be able, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. And that's what, especially here in these states, because, it's America, then you have the United States of America. And I don't know, my nose getting stuffy, right? I don't know if these people are aware that there's a faction of people that believe in the separation of America and United States. They believe it's a difference. You have some people that say, well, I'm America, I'm American, and they don't, and you might not see a difference in saying American versus, oh, I'm from the United States. But it's a difference in that certain group of people, and then and seeing that it's a difference, United States, meaning the states are their own nation. They have their own laws, and they're allowed to have their own laws as long as their laws don't go against the constitutional law, which is the law of the whole land, right? So we can see how all of this can go down where it says, a man should desire to go into a city and shall not, because of their pride, and the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed. Right? And it says, and the courses of their actions shall stand in their power. So we can see how, even too, like when Trump was sending National Guards to different states, then you had governors talking about, oh, well, no, they can't come here, or they passing laws, or different mayors in different cities passing ordinance saying that, okay, well, they can't use this facility, or they can't post up here and all that. So you had, like, even within that of these, nations, we've seen semblance of that, right? So back over here it says, and man should desire to go into a city and should not be able. For because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And that's what's going on. People are going to be terrified in that day, because it's going to be something that we haven't seen, right? Because America haven't lived in apartheid South of Africa, where you got checkpoints, military checkpoints everywhere, people checking for your ID, right? You haven't lived over there in apartheid Gaza. I know they don't like that word right there. I shouldn't say the P word with Gaza, but I said it. Apartheid Gaza over there, how they was treating those people, right? We never seen that. We never seen, military patrolling stuff and, pulling everybody out the car, checking for, are you a citizen, right? What type of citizen are you, right? Are you a full-blooded, born and raised American citizen, or are you a I've been here for a while type of American citizen? What type of American are you, right? We never been through that, right? But it says, a man should have no pity upon his neighbor. And that's what's going on. And that's what's going to happen. There's going to be no pity in that day, right? Everybody's going to be going for self, right? And it's not going to be, oh, well, yeah, being, we've been cool for some years and stuff. So, it's going to be every man for themselves, right? And it says, let's start back up here. It says, "For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid." Very terrifying day, because everybody's going to be going for itself. Everybody's going to be tapped into their animal instinct, which is survival, right? I need to keep my heart beating another day, right? And I'm going to do whatever I need to do that. And that's going to be the mindset of a lot of people in that day. And it says, "And man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods." So people are going to be breaking into people's houses for supplies and food and stuff, right? And for water and all that, because it's going to be scarce, right? Especially if them people, I seen some of them people talking about, poisoning the water or something like that, doing some little attack on the water. It's crazy, right? And so it's going to be crazy. And people are going to go crazy, because, you need water, right? How many days can you go without water, right? You need it. People are going crazy. So that's why we need the Most High God protection to, so we won't have to, go through all of this crazy stuff that we read, right? And so where we at? Let's get this real quick. Let's get Isaiah 13 real quick. 13 and 16 real quick. Says, and again too, because we gotta understand too, and I gotta understand how God works, right? Because when he come back to judge, and he's coming back, and when he come back, he's coming to judge, and when he come, I'm trying to think, because I like using this metaphor, but I was trying to think, should I use another one? But forget it, I'm gonna use it anyway because I like it. But let's think about it like this: like God is like, is rolling, like he's spinning the block, right? And he's spinning the block, and he has shotguns and grenades. That's all he got. Shotguns and grenades, right? He ain't got no type of precision, type of pistol, sniper rifle. No, everything he got in his hand can mess up the whole block, right? So you keep that in mind when he comes back. And he's not going to be particular who he hits if you out there on that block. So just like we all seen that guy that get mad and tell everybody, "Hey, I'm going to be right back, and if anybody here when I get back is on," right? We seen people like that. We know that guy. That's him, okay? And he means it, right? Because right here it tells us that this is Isaiah 13. Let's start at let's start at 14. And it says, Isaiah 13 and 14, it says, "And it shall be as a chased roe, and as a sheep that has no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people." So meaning in that day, because a chased roe is like a deer. You see how fast, I don't know if you ever witnessed how fast a deer run. Them things run fast. I was right next to a deer. I was on a like a little park path, walking down this little path. Mugs came dashing. I looked, and I swear, they so fast, it looked like they just disappeared right in front of my eyes. That's how quick they was going. Things is fast, right? So the point is, people are going to be so scared and running around in that day. It's going to be like a deer, and it says, "And it shall be like a chased roe as a sheep that has no man taketh up. They shall every man return to his own people." So then in that day, everybody gonna return to their own people, right? You're gonna find out how cool you and Dylan and Bob and Karen and Megan is that day, right? You're gonna find out, because it tells us And it says, that no man taketh up, they should every man return to his own people and flee every one unto his own land. So that's what's going down. Everybody gonna be like, oh well shoot, what time it is? Up. Look like they about to blow this place up. I'll holler at y'all Americans a little later. I'm gonna go take my butt back on over to where I came from. Cause how much time left we got? When is the last flights? You know, everybody gonna get up out of there. Everybody gonna, the ones that can escape is gone, right? And to tell us, it says, and it shall be as a chaste road, and as a sheep, and no man taketh up, and every man to his own people, and flee every one unto his own land. Now that's the point. It says, everyone that is found shall be thrust through. Everyone that is, so that's why we say he's like spinning a block in a Lolo, holding a shotgun and throwing hand grenades, because it's telling us. It says everyone that is found shall be thrust through. So when God come back, you thought I was just being funny, I was just trying to make a joke, but when God say, I'm about to spin this block, I'm gonna clear it out. When I come back, that nobody be out here, because everybody getting it. Because he says, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them. Who's the them? Those are the ones that he's coming to get, right? And if you Israelites, you Black, Hispanic, and Native American people want to be joined with them, what did he say? Everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword, right? So you don't want to die in the land of your captivity because you got love for your enemy, right? You don't want to do that, right? That's not the way to go, right? That ain't cool. Because it says, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them, which is the wicked, because he's coming to judge the wicked. But if you want to, oh, well, you know, it's not that bad, you know, hey, that was a long time ago, hey, you know, Rodney King had it right, can't we all just get along? You know, you want to be that guy, don't be that guy, right? Because it just told us. And everyone that is joined with them shall fall by the sword. Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished. Right? Because people are going to be buck wild in that day. The only thing that's stopping that little crazy dude from down the block from running up in your house is a 911 call. Right? So, imagine that day, there's no 911 call. That little crazy man that only restraint is the fact that he's afraid of going to jail, now realize, hey, there's no jail no more. What's going to stop that crazy man from trying to run in your house, right? Once the deterrence is now gone, right? Because the police, they're defending their house. They're trying to stop that crazy man from running in their crib, right? So they ain't got time to protect you, right? Imagine, we all saw the videos from Katrina, right? When that stuff happened in Katrina. We saw the clips of the officers that was looting and going into the stores and grabbing stuff too, right? So imagine that on a higher scale, but not just, you know what I mean? So we got to understand, it happens, and it will happen, because we're reading about it. And it says, their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their house shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished, right? And that's what's going down. These people is going to be going crazy in that day, because to them, it's the end of the world. Everything is going crazy. So they might as well go crazy and live out all their wild fantasies, their wild, violent fantasies. And that's what they are, right? It's a white supremacist group that, in their thesis or whatever, I don't know how you want to label it, you know, that's one of their little things, to go around and forcefully put themselves on women in that day. They're waiting for that day to happen, the fall of society, where they can go forcefully touch women in places, right? That's what they say. It's this guy. He's a FBI undercover dude. Um, he was on Vlad TV, right? And he's talking about these different neocon white supremacist groups that he infiltrated, and he was talking about their ideology. So that's how I found that out about this. I forgot the name of the group, but that's one of the things they're waiting on. So you got people out there like that, right? It's crazy, but we're dealing with stuff like that. It says, let's get Isaiah 30. And it say, it says, his breath as the overflowing stream shall reach to the midst of the neck, in the shift of the nations with the sheave of vanity, and there shall be a bridle in the jaw of the people, causing them to err. So, meaning, again, so God has, got the spirits working, because we can read about these four spirits in Zechariah, and how these spirits govern the earth, the watchers. We read about it in Daniel chapter 4, right? So God uses these different angels, these different spirits to influence people, influence nations, influence governments to carry out his will, his purpose, to make these nations do exactly what they're going to do, right? And it says, his breath and his overflowing stream shall he reach the midst of the neck, and shall sift the nations with a sheave and a vanity. And I don't know how old some of y'all are, but if you remember your grandma or your mother used to bake a cake that had the little flour shifter, used to shift the flour, right? So God has said he's going to shift the nations. How he's going to shift them? With this war that's going on. That's why the nations is getting shaken up right now. They all scrambling and all that stuff, gearing up for war, right? And he's going to shift them. And as he's shifting them, they all going to fall. And as they fall, there's only going to be one left. And guess who's going to be left? You got it. That's right. The Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, right? Israel. That's who's going to be left, right? The real Israel. Not the fake one. But then it says, and the overflowing stream shall reach the midst of the neck to shift the nations with a sheave of vanity, and there should be a bridle in the jaw of the people, causing them to err. Meaning, God is putting the spirit on these people, and that's why they're just doing these foolish stuff, in government and policy and all this stuff that we see on TV. It's looking like it's really, 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 truly looking like anybody can truly be president. I'm thinking like, hey, 28, 2028, I'm throwing my hat in the ring. I mean, is it really this easy? I mean, dang, right? It's crazy. Because it says, and the people should bridle the jaw, and there should be bridle the jaw of the people. So again, too, like in your jaw, like horses, right? You see how people control horses, and so that thing in the mouth of the horse, you can turn it left or right. So again, so God is is spearheading this whole thing. He's controlling this whole thing. He's like Spike Lee in this whole thing. Spike Lee have a movie, and not only does he write and direct the movie, he also acts in the movie also. So that's why you can also see sometimes where God is angry or sad, or he might be showing love, to a person or for a reason. Although he's all knowing and he knows the story because he wrote it out, right? But he's so involved in his creation, he throws himself into his creation from time to time, just like a Spike Lee would, or what's the other guy, Quentin Tarantino would. Sometimes they pop up in their own movies. They're just involved in their creation to that, to that deep, so deep like that, right? Um, and it says, so that's why it says, and there shall be a bridle of the jaws of the people, causing them to err, right? Because God controls the people. He controls the thoughts of men and actions. You know, we think we just out here doing stuff, but nah, right? He controls everything. Let's get this really, really quick. It's Daniel 4:17. It says, this is the matter decreed by the watchers. Again, the watchers, the angels, you know, the spirits that govern this earth that watch and report back to the Most High God and tell them, hey, this is what's going on down there. Them fools is crazy. And it says, this is the decree of the watchers in a demand by the word of the holy ones to attend that the living may know. So this is something that the angels are sharing with the people, right? So the watchers is telling our dear brother Daniel, you know, the angels is telling him this is something that us humans need to know. So what should we know? How God? What do we need to know? It says to attend that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, right? That's what we should know, that the Most High God ruleth in the kingdom of men, right? Meaning he do what the hell he want with people, right? It's like toy soldiers to him, right? Take this person and right? That's what he want, right? We got to understand that. It says the holy ones attend that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men and give it unto whomsoever he will and set over it the basis of men. So God does whatever he wants. He rises up nations and he take down nations, you know, all the time. And he put whatever nation that he want to put on top to rule for a dissipation of time, right? And just so happen, the people that's ruling over us now is what the Bible and we should know as, what it say? And setteth over it the basis of man. So right now we have the base of man ruling the planet. So that's almost like a sense of humor that the Most High God have. Like look, Israelites, I gave you the law to run this planet, right? You gave you the commandments. It's very easy. It's so easy. In fact, a caveman can do it. In fact, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna put these people in charge, right? And look what they're done to the planet. Right, we know what they done, right? We see what was going on, but obviously God is a Geico fan, and he thought that we should know that what he asking us to do is so easy that even a caveman can do it. That's why he put the basis of man in charge of it, right? Oh, you don't believe me? Let's get one more then. Let's get one more. Let's get one more. Okay, one more. One more. Even though it ain't the song, but the same melody. One more. Let's get this real quick, right? Because you gotta understand that these people are indeed the caveman. They know they are the caveman. We know they're the caveman, right? We ain't gotta, you know, talk about all of that. We know who they are. This is Job, real quick. Job 30 and for the sake of time, let's go get this part right here. And it says, and they were children of fools. This is Job 30 and 8. And they were children of fools. Yeah, children of base men. Like we just read. They're base men. Meaning, if you have what they call Homo sapiens, right? Then you take the whole Homo sapien thingy thing. You know, but then the basis, the lowest of the Homo sapien people would be the caveman, the Neanderthal. And not only do science tell us this, Job is telling us that, what it say? It says, they were children of fools. Meaning these people are dumb as hell. They're stupid, right? I don't even know why they even. I don't get it. This is dumb. We know they dumb, right? Dumber than a box of rocks. But for some reason, gotta listen to them. You know, they make the laws. Then it says, they are children of fools. Yeah, children of base men, right? Cavemen. They are valor of the earth, meaning they're disgusting human beings, right? And we know that, right? That's not my opinion. That's just facts. That's life. But then it's also my opinion that they are disgusting human beings. So anyway, so where are we at? So boom, 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 back over here. So it says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses and spoil their goods because of bread and because of lack of bread and for great tribulation. Behold, said God, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me. Right? That's what he's going to do. He's going to call all the kings of the earth to reverence him. And it's not because they were like, oh, God, oh, you're so mighty. Oh, my God. Oh, Lord, thank you, Jesus. Right? Oh, God. And it's not that type of reverence, right? Meaning, he's going to mess them up pretty bad to the point where they have to be like, man, only God could have had done this to us, right? How could we got devastated and decimated and destroyed like this, right? They're going to know about God. Cause remember when Moses was talking to Pharaoh and Moses was like, hey, yo, let my people go. And, you know, for we can go worship our God. And Pharaoh's like, who is this Yahweh that I should respect and just let y'all people just walk on nilly-willy out into the wilderness, right? How long you say you want to be gone for? Right? Nah, wait, hey, who does Yahweh do it again? So, but he found out though. He found out who God was with those 10 plagues. And America is going to find out who God is when he bring these 7 plagues, right? You gotta understand that. So back over here. Matter of fact, let's get this real quick. Let's get do I want that one? No. No, we hold that one. Alright. So alright, let's continue then. It says behold, said God, I will call together the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising sun from the south and from the east, and from Lebanon, to turn themselves one against another, to repay the things that they have done to them. So, again, and that's called war. He's going to make them fight, like how we just did the little toy soldiers. Fight, right? Because that's how he's going to ravish them. That's what he's bringing them all down to the valley of Jehoshaphat to judge them there. And he's using good old Donald Trump to bring them in there. Having Donald Trump and the other guy cause all the trouble. And all the nations gonna come. Because this is Joel chapter 3. I'm going to start at verse 2. And it says, I will also gather all nations. I will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, wherein I will plead with them for my people, for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations, and parted my land. And they had cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. So, because of the captivity that our people have faced, the slavery, and the all this, the history that we went through, dealing with these people since we've been on this side of the world, right? They have to pay for that, right? You have to understand somebody has to pay for that. Like that type of stuff don't go on without you know payback. Everybody talk about karma, talk about, oh, you get what you deserve, right? We love saying that, oh, well, you got what you deserve. That's karma. We say that except for when it comes to the white man. Oh, well, you gotta forgive them. Oh, well, karma doesn't work for white people. What are you talking about? You gotta forgive them. What do you mean? But everybody else, what? You don't get what you deserve. Every dog got their day. That's what you get. But not them. Oh, no, not master. Oh, don't you say that about master. Oh, you okay, master? We sick boss? Right? We got a lot of we sick boss around here. That's crazy. Right? Gotta get rid of the we sick bosses, people. Get them out of here. Right? Messing it up. So, it says, like as they yet this day unto my chosen, I will do also in recompense unto their bosom, that said the Lord God. And it says, thus said the Lord God. Right, and that's the thing. Hold on, read it one more time. It says, like they do yet this day unto my chosen, I will do also in recompense in their bosom. Right? And that's the thing too, because they still oppressing, still doing all of this stuff to us, still, dominating, and we still have to bow our heads and still be all, cowardly and change the way we talk and, oh, well, I gotta dress like this and walk like this and don't say this, and, so that is crazy, right? And we end up falling for it because we want to be a part of their society, and it says, it says, my right hand should not spare the sinner, and my sword should not cease over them that shed innocent blood upon the earth. And that's what these people have done, shedded innocent blood upon the earth. And they gotta pay for that. I mean, like, I don't see how people can see the history and see how these people move and think that God is, if there's a God in heaven, and think that he's cool with that, right? That, like, if the God you serve is cool with the last 500 years of history that America had, then I don't know what God you it ain't the God of this book, right? It ain't the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? You got a total different God. If you think he's all right, with there's no restitution for what this place have done, right? He's definitely not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? You probably made up some other God, but it's not this one. So Proverbs 3:1 says, my son, forget not my law, but let thy heart keep my commandments. For the length of days and the long life, and peace shall be added to thee. Right, and that's the thing, we want to keep these commandments so we can have a long life. Because again, when all hell is breaking loose, that's gonna keep us stable. That's gonna be our stability, right? And so we're gonna need the protection. So we're gonna have to keep the faith in the commandments, right? And it says, so verse 24 it says, 2nd Ezra 15:24. Woe to them. Hold up. Let me get 23 real quick. It says, the fire is going forth from his wrath and hath consumed the foundations of the earth, and the sinners like the straw that is kindled. Right? And so when God come and judge and through that thermonuclear fire, right, that's, the primary method of his judging with these nukes that is going to be dropped. That final plague, right? That's going to, you know, cause this whole everything to shift, right? And so it says the fire is going forth from his wrath and have consumed the foundations of the earth and the sinners like the straw that is kindled, right? So again, that's why you have to keep the faith and separate ourselves spiritually, from this place, because again, we don't want to get caught where it says, no, join on to him, right? That's why it's telling us over here, Proverbs 3:1. My son, forget not my law, but let thy heart keep my commandments. And that's what we have to do. Don't forget the law. Keep the law. Don't do what the church tells us and don't keep the law, right? No, you establish the law, meaning you keep it, right? That's what we do. It says, for the length of days, says, my son, forget not my law, but let thy heart keep my commandments for the length of days and a long life and peace shall they be added unto thee. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck and write them upon the table of thy heart. Right? Meaning, meditate on these things. Keep these things dear to you. Right? Always, stay focused on the mission at hand, which is, enduring to the end through the faith, right? And through the faith in keeping these commandments, right? So let's keep going. Matter of fact, and it says, I would not spare them. Go your way, ye children, from the power. Defy not my sanctuary. For the Lord have known all of them that has sinned against him, and therefore deliver them unto death and destruction. And that's what this place has been delivered to, death and destruction, right? And that's what's coming to this place, right? Death and destruction. And there's nothing we can do about it, sadly, right? Just right here, Revelation 18. Revelation 18:21, and it says, and a mighty angel took up a great stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall the great city Babylon be thrown down. So that's how this place is going to fall, with a very violent, end to it, right? It's, and because that's what happens when fallen society, the dollar drop, all that stuff, right? It's going to be a great shift, but it's going to be a violent one. Because it tells us, and a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. That's the whole end, the whole end of this whole thing. This whole place being thrown down and not found again at all. Thus saith the Lord, right? Not anything we said. That is God's plan. God's plan, right? So that's the Most High God plan, right? So God got a plan for this place. All we got to do is keep the faith and hold on, right? And keep the faith in the Mashiach Yahweh Shai. And like I said, and separate spiritually from this place, mentally from this place, because this place has a judgment, and you don't want to be part of it, like we just read. So I'm gonna say shalom. Hopefully that was edifying and all that cool stuff. We get a better understanding of these prophecies and the time frame that we living in, and what we need to do and what to look for, right? And how to better prepare ourselves, right? spiritually and mentally for things that we, may see, right? And, and don't be foolish neither. If you can afford supplies and all that stuff, get the proper stuff that you might need to survive this whole thing, right? So, but number one, keep the faith in the Mashiach Yahweh Shai Christ, right? That's number one, right? Before anything. But again, say shalom, peace. Till next time, we out.